Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bachelor Party. We're about to get into it. As usual, I just want to let you know, this is a pretty spoiler-heavy episode for Clayshia season in the back half. We really get into it. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, just maybe skip the episode. I wouldn't usually recommend that, and I hope that you don't, but just wanted you to know. All right, here we go. Let's batch. Welcome to Bachelor Party. I'm Juliette Littman. Tonight, I'm joined by the star of tonight's Bachelor greatest season ever, Mr. Nick Viall. Hi, Nick.
Hi, Juliette. So nice to talk to you.
Nick, you're the last person that I did an in-person podcast with back on March 10th, I think it was, 2020.
I remember that fondly. And
I do too. I remember exiting my studio with my hand, like using my sweatshirt to push on the door, like not really knowing what was what. And I was just like, what? COVID? And then I thought I would be out of work, or not at work, but working from home for two weeks. And here we are, 6.5 months later. 5.5 months later, excuse me.
That's, God, I can't believe it's been.
Can you believe it?
I don't know. You know, nothing surprises me anymore. I guess I can believe it. I'm a little surprised how like much I've just kind of acclimated to, like, all right, well, I guess this is it. Like, I haven't really freaked myself out, right? Like the doomsday in me. Like, it's one of those things you just progressively deal with, right? If you were to like have the benefit of seeing into the future and just see an out of context shot of everyone wearing masks and stuff like that, you'd be like, oh my God, what's going on? But I don't know.
It's super weird. It seems like you've picked up some new hobbies. Like you're really into roller skating now.
Well, I've always been into roller skating, but I've definitely decided to invest some of my free time into getting better at roller skating.
I believe you had a roller skating date with Raven, huh? I
did, and that was really what brought it back into my life. I roller skated as a kid. And I didn't for 20 some years, and I got the skates I have now are the skates that I got on that date, and thank God for that, because it's really been beneficial to my mental health, my fun, my Instagram, all of the above. That's
great. There's a lot of things I want to talk to you about, including the episode tonight, what that was like for you, revisiting all of it. But first, a little bit of a controversy, depending on who you ask. They released the official, with what we call in the biz, the key art for Claire's season. It's really Clayshia's season, but they're leading with Claire. I presume at some point we'll get a whole new slew of publicity photos starring Tayshia.
I'm really quite curious and confused by listen, I guess the marketing strategy is great because people are just curious, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so in that sense.
We'll talk technicalities and logistics in a second, but did you see this poster for Claire, where she's wearing like a velvet blazer, she's holding a rose, there's a
graduate poster?
The graduate poster, yes. That's
okay. Yeah.
Did you recognize it as a parody of The Graduate when you saw it?
At first, no. And then I think people made the comparisons and I was like, okay, cool.
So I have largely quit Twitter. Like I'm not really on Twitter very much. And so
Smart.
I thank you. It's a lot better. I saw the poster yesterday and I was like, interesting. She's wearing pants. What an interesting decision. I don't think they've really done something like this, like casual look before. I wonder what the thought was. Then this morning I wake up to see this conversation happening in the Bachelor Party podcast Facebook group, which is a very lively conversation spot. Recommend it. And people pointed out, which I guess is now widely recognized, that it was a play on the Graduate poster. And a lot of fans' feedback was that it was sexist, that they are commenting on how Claire's so much older than her men and whatnot, which is valid. We'll come back to that. But I just want to say, the poster doesn't make sense if that's the point, because she's in the Dustin Hoffman position, who's much younger than Anne Bancroft. So if it was really a play on The Graduate, it would be that Claire is half the age of her suitors or something. I don't know. It just, the thing is, it was supposed to be a play on age, but it just like doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the movie The Graduate. I haven't seen it in its entirety, so I can't speak
Ever?
to.
You've never seen it in its entirety?
Yeah, and I know that's a miss on my part.
Nick, it's a good one.
I know. I'm ashamed to say that, but that is true.
Okay, well, here's the plot. It's really straightforward. Dustin Hoffman is having an affair with like his friend's mom, with an older woman, and then there's a point at the end where he goes to the church and he just whatever, and you know, there's the famous Simon and Garfunkel song, whatever. So like the comparison doesn't make any sense. They're trying to like make a comment on Claire's age and her being older, but like it just doesn't work.
I get that. I mean, listen, we're in sensitive times, and I understand. I don't know the people in the PR department for Warner Brothers or ABC, but I'm willing to guess that they probably didn't even put that much thought into it. I do know, like when they do these photo shoots and they come up with these marketing strategies, they have a bunch of different ideas and storyboards and like vision boards.
Sure.
And they maybe just thought it looked like a cool poster that they probably definitely ripped off from The Graduate, but I don't know if it goes much further than the poster itself. I don't know. Like the pants is more progressive in terms of like women.
That was
in
my
pants.
first thought.
Like,
I was like, cool,
like,
cool outfit for Claire.
Yeah. Like why does it have to be always a princess gown or something, right? But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's. I just don't imagine them trying to be like Easter egg kind of.
It's just a whiff.
Yeah,
it's just a whiff because they clearly are not looking to court controversy. I think they're trying to be more progressive. Obviously, they heeded the call for 2 black leads with Matt and Tayshia. I'm certain that no one was like, let's drum people up. But that said, this like ignorance and overlooking stuff like that is like almost as bad as, you know.
Well, I guess, I mean, and I apologize. I'm a little confused. It's sexist because Claire's older and
because the men are so frequently older than the women. Like there's usually much younger.
The fact that they're making a deal about and they never made a deal. Okay, fair. Okay, fair enough.
It's not great. I don't know. It's not good. I don't want to excuse it, but my main complaint is that it doesn't make any sense. Claire as the Dustin Hoffman character and Mrs. Robinson just doesn't make sense. However, I thought she looked very nice in the outfit. I was glad to see her wearing jeans. Shout out to Claire. I don't know. The whole thing. It's a bad first note for this season. Also,
I think people will move on fast.
I think they probably will too. MoveOn.org. But it's just the whole thing is weird. Okay, sure. Let's ourselves move on now that we've noted this. Your episode of The Bachelor Greatest Seasons Ever was on this evening. And how did it feel rehashing all the dramas?
I'll be honest, I didn't really watch it. But it was fine. I mean, you know, I've said like when the season aired, I was fine with it. You know, there wasn't any like, there weren't any moments I was hoping they wouldn't air versus airing and things like that. And overall, I have positive feelings about my season. So great, you know. But also, like, how many people are really watching this thing? Kind of thing.
Shots fired. I don't know the answer to that.
No, it's just like I don't.
The ratings are poor, though.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't watching network television to begin with. But hey, listen, it's cool to be in the lineup, and I don't have too much of an opinion about it. But overall, I guess cool. I wasn't like dreading it.
I think that you just look drastically different, like from when you were first on Andy's season. I think that's just like maybe you've just grown up. How many years ago were you on Andy's season? 6?
6, yeah.
So
listen, it's obviously that's something that people like to do. I don't think
not that you ever looked bad. You never look bad, buddy. But it's just different.
Well, yeah, I don't think I look as different in reality as I do in photos. And like I also think I did hit my ugly phase of life on Andy's season.
Interesting. Yeah. I've never thought I always feel like my ugly phase of life was when I was like going through puberty, but interesting to think about, huh?
I mean, again, it was my first time on TV, but it wasn't like, it wasn't like I love joking about my glow up. I mean, I have fun with it, but I think it's, I just had a really bad haircut and I didn't have a tan. And it turns out I look slightly better with facial hair, It's,
We used to call you Normcore Nick back in the day.
I know.
Before I knew you. The funniest part of
and I wore that with a badge of honor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the time, Obama was super normcore as well. You know, you were in good company.
Yeah,
he was wearing like Gap jeans. He still probably is.
But yeah, it's been a fun transition progression. So
the funniest part of your episode to me was just the very beginning when they show you like walking down Michigan Avenue in Chicago, pretending you lived in Chicago at the beginning of your Bachelor season. You were already living in LA. Yeah,
it's funny because like I remember, at the time when they asked me to be the Bachelor, there was a lot of thoughts going through my brain, and I was just like, well, it's funny because at that point, there was such a like this structure around how they presented the Bachelor to America. And I said to the producers, just like, listen, I had no anticipation of coming back. I've been living in LA. I'm kind of in this transitional period of my life. I'm taking acting classes. I'm taking improv classes. This is all crazy, but like, I haven't hid that either. I wasn't like, I was pretty public about it. And they were just like, we'll worry about it later. And then they decided, and I think there were some conversations around like, let's move you back to Chicago for a few weeks and kind of like let people know you're in Chicago and even pretend to go back to selling software. There were even conversations about that. And then it was just decided, and I think they made the right choice of like, we know Nick, the audience, in a sense. Like the story isn't like, where does Nick come from? And he sells software. It was like, they just leaned into the unlucky in love narrative and just like they didn't feel like they had to have a whole get to know you. So like, yeah, those Chicago shots were just, that was because they weren't sure how they were going to position it. And they decided just like, we don't need to sit there and cover like, when Andy was the Bachelorette, like the fake, in court scene where she like, they clearly got like a fake judge and a fake lawyer and just
like the Legally Blonde scene. Yeah.
Yeah. And they do that because they're trying to have the audience get to know their lead a little bit more. And they decided like, they know Nick and we'll just lean on the relationship aspect. But that is kind of funny thinking back how they wanted to frame the intro.
And also like you're carrying like a messenger bag, which was the style at the time. It just, the whole thing was very funny.
I remember they went and bought that messenger bag, like just for that shot.
Was it a Timbuktu bag? Perhaps it was. Remember those?
I don't remember.
I've been doing a lot of like recent history YouTube. Like last night I was watching videos of Drake and Rihanna like performing together in Paris in 2014. And I was like, a happier time. Right around the time that you were on the show.
Did they air, I remember the season, did they air in this GOAT episode, like me getting into the shower and basically being naked and blacked out, blocked out? No?
Not that I recall. I recall that from your season though.
I remember that day and like that whole day. And I just was so pissed because the cameraman's like doing and I'm just like, why? He was like literally up.
Were you naked?
Yeah. And I was just like, why are we doing this? Like, why am I basically...
So you were just naked in front of this camera crew?
Yeah. And he's just like, oh, this is such a great shot. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going... It was like bizarre.
That's really uncomfortable.
I remember being mad and I called up some of the executives. I'm like, why are we doing this? I don't understand. And it just was...
The shower scenes have always been super gratuitous. Colton's were so gratuitous too.
Yeah. It ended up being fine, but I just remember... I remember that day and being frustrated. Yeah.
I don't blame you. How do you feel about Corinne in retrospect? They did show her just like taking her top off in the pool, and for you and all the other women watching on.
Well,
like, what do you think about that
moment? Was uncomfortable. I mean, I recently did this whole like tell all on my Patreon with a bunch of the women, right? And I think
how's that been going?
Really well. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it's all done recorded. All the episodes are out now. The Corinne one was one of the most interesting ones, is because she was probably the most reflective in our conversation, and like the most, she showed some grace and some regret, and like not regret, like, oh, I totally regret it, but like it was, you could tell she has grown up a little bit, and it was interesting. It was interesting to hear her perspective, and it was actually kind of fun to catch up with her. And Obviously the Vanessa one was interesting because it was like the first time we had spoken in years. So
amazing. Was she nervous to do it at all?
I think we both were, because honestly, we knew we both had some strong opinions, and we decided to do it in a podcast form. And I think we were really happy the way it turned out, but I think we both went in pretty nervous.
How do you feel about her being engaged?
I think it's great. Yeah.
She found love. Did you? I don't know. I don't want to make you rank all of the people that you've had relationships with. And by the way, they include Jen.
I'm not going to.
They include Jen from Bachelor in Paradise. And this is
who
no
I
shot
also
to Jen.
Who I just recorded with her. And that one's pretty honest. Yeah.
Nice. She seems lovely. I have no opinion on her. But that relationship, the length was much shorter than with Caitlyn, Andy, or
well, actually,
Vanessa.
In reality, it was maybe one of the longer ones.
Did it continue or begin off air?
We talked about. You'll have to listen to the episode.
Oh, wow. Which of those relationships in the moment of the breakup or whatever, with Vanessa, it's hard to say, like, which felt the most intense?
Was so different. I mean, the Andy and Caitlyn one were in the show, right?
Yeah.
In the moment, when not even close, the Caitlyn one, because like with the Andy one, like I was in the bubble and certainly had strong feelings for Andy, but there was always a part of me that was like, what the fuck is going on? And like, I'm on this show. This is crazy. Right. And with Caitlyn, I certainly had more self-awareness because I had gone through that and I had kind of prepared myself. And I remember saying, no matter how confident I am, I do know more than ever, having done it, that I don't know what's going on the other side of things.
Right.
But because Caitlyn and our relationship kind of started before the show, it was the most personal and the most kind of out of the blue. And in that moment, probably the most hurtful, because I was so like blindsided that was in that moment the most I felt the most. With the Vanessa one, by the time we broke up, it was sweet relief. Probably for both of us though, like I think we really tried to make it work, but we as I'm sure, and other couples have referenced that, like when it comes to these bachelor relationships, there's a lot of pressure, public pressure. You're afraid of what people are going to say, and you give it an extra month or two minus when it probably would have ended in real life, because you're just can we make this work kind of thing. And by the time we parted ways,
it was clear that was a no.
Yeah, it was.
Well, I'm glad you gave it the old college try.
Definitely.
Was that really the first time you talked to her? Because you've been you're friends with Caitlyn now and Andy, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad to say I have all positive relationships with all of them now, but that wasn't always. It just is kind of raw for all. With Caitlyn had everything to do with her relationship with Sean and her.
Yeah.
Her not being allowed to have a relationship with me. Andy's Andy, and then Vanessa and I didn't talk. Vanessa and I didn't talk for 3 years. I mean, after I dropped her off at the airport, there's like a couple. There's intense. a couple of phone conversations and texts, mostly out of like frustration, but short of that, I didn't spoke with her in 3 years.
Crazy, man! You guys lived together. You were engaged.
Yeah.
Jeez. Well. She seems happy now. I have to listen to your episode with her.
She seems happy, and I'm happy for her. And I am glad that we were able to connect because not that we need to talk, but there's lines of open communication. It was nice to be able to text her congratulations and not wonder if that was weird or not.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like you're clearly are good at making friends with your exes afterwards. You need like a grace period, and then you can move on.
I've always been fine with that. I always kind of put out the olive branch there. With Vanessa, I will say, Vanessa extended the olive branch we talk about that. But to Vanessa's credit, she extended an olive branch about 6 months ago, of which I did not take. I was still frustrated. And I wasn't ready.
Damn. Well, she probably like got to a happy place with this new guy and was like, I'm going to make amends with Nick. That's my guess.
Yeah. I mean, I also think Vanessa and I both kind of wanted to, but yeah.
Okay.
And,
Great.
but yeah, I'm glad I have positive relationships with all of those, and even Jen, all those women.
Have you heard about Rothy's? They are making stylish, sustainable shoes, and they make bags for life on the go. They're carelessly crafted with eco-friendly materials like repurposed plastic water bottles and marine plastic. In fact, their shoes are seamlessly knit with thread made from plastic water bottles, so they're ultra comfy as soon as you slip them on. Rothy's comes in an array of colors, prints, patterns, and styles, and their shoes have 0 break-in period. Another major bonus, Rothy's are fully machine washable. If they need a refresh, you can simply toss them in the washing machine. Rothy's best-selling shoe, the Point in Black, which Meghan Markle has over 3,000 near-perfect reviews. The first time I saw Ashley Iaconetti in person, maybe not the first, but one of the more recent times, she was also wearing Rothy's. Rothy owns and operates their manufacturing workshop where they prioritize sustainability every step of the way. Vogue calls Rothy's a personal obsession. Plus, Rothy's always come with free shippings and returns. I have 2 pairs, and I love them. I'm happy that summer is almost over because I can get back into my Rothy's. I have the Point as well, and a really cool gray, kind of neutral. I also have the loafers. They're great. You can be like me and Ashley and Meghan Markle. Check out all the amazing shoes and bags available right now at rothys.com/bachelor. That's rothys.com, rothys.com/bachelor. Style and sustainability meet to create your new favorites. Head to rothys.com/bachelor today. What's been the weirdest thing to revisit? Like, just like for you, like what small thing? Even if like you didn't watch, just kind of like this whole goat series, it's just like they're bringing up a lot of old stuff. Like, what's been the weirdest part?
For the purposes of the Patreon and the Tell All with the Women, I watched my season back not too long ago. So I didn't watch the goat, but I have recently watched my season, and I don't remember feeling as cringy about things watching it when it aired as I do now.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
now you know a lot more. Also, like, you're in media now. It's different.
Yeah, that's not why though. I knew enough then. I was pretty like in on it then. It was just some of the balance. I don't know. It was just kind of cringy, to watch it back. So yeah,
okay.
But there was no. Yeah.
What was what moment were you like, I need to cover my eyes? What was the worst?
Well, again, there's always a little, like the bouncy castle, the whipped cream with Corinne, all
the Corinne stuff is weird. It's just, I feel like now, even a few years later, people would have a problem with it. Like, it just would not play in the same way.
But the problem I have with it, because, and that's just the way the show is. It's oversimplified, right?
Yeah.
I didn't like how I was being sexualized in that moment, knowing that like Nick had sex and he's the sexual bachelor. And I'm a sex positive guy. I have no problem with that, but it's the way it was going about that. The reality is, like, people always say in relationships, I want to have fun with someone and be able to goof around. And like, the truth is, like, an inflatable bouncy castle or whipped cream are all like harmless, stupid things that you should be able to do with someone. But it was just the way it was shown in like this over sexualized, like, the bouncy castle with Corinne in the show represented some guy who wasn't serious about marriage, who just wanted to like fuck around, and then I remember in that moment, like hating it and hated doing it, and was just like it was like, fine, I knew the producers wanted it. So I was like, whatever, we'll get through this and be fine.
How much did you discuss storylines with producers as you were on your various seasons?
Well, 0 on the Bachelorette
Andy's season,
and as me being the Bachelor, I was as probably as I might have been the most read in Bachelor ever.
What? Read in?
Kind of like, yeah, in terms of like,
got it. Got it. Like, give you something to say.
I know Ben a lot. Like, I think they trusted Ben and I a lot, right? I think they trusted that we understood the role. And again, I don't even say that as like, here I am admitting it's all fake. It's just that we understood that there was like, you could be sincere and look for love, and also understood there's a role of making a TV show. And again, it sounds like Claire very much didn't understand that. She took it too literally and wasn't ever willing to be like, I have a little bit of a job to do. Yes, we want you to find love, Claire, kind of thing. And so I think they trusted Ben and I. And so as a result, they were fine telling us that here's this is going to happen. We need this and we need that. And sometimes if they don't trust their leads, then they're just as in the dark as anyone else.
And I think that's part of what happened with Colton, right? Like one of the reasons why things went so sideways there, from what I can tell.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I can't speak on something I don't know. I wasn't there.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, whatever.
Have you watched any of the other GOAT episodes?
Yeah, I've watched most of them, actually, because, I've been also recapping them. I think for me, it was the most fun to watch Allie's back.
Allie's season is really legitimately good. Allie and Jason are my favorite seasons, I think. Jason,
I just liked it because of the fashion was so bizarre, and it wasn't that long ago.
The guys' fashion?
All of it, really.
That was, I think, the season where everyone was like not prepared for the weather. So they all ended up wearing like the same like t-shirts and hoodies because like they must have been bought them or given them by production or something like that. I like Allie's season a lot too.
Yeah.
That's a fun one. Did you watch it in real time?
No, I did not. So that was like a first time. So that was kind of fun to do that. It's the same with Jason's too. Jason's was like, I didn't watch it. So I'd certainly remember like it when it was going on in terms of like American pop culture, and Molly was from Wisconsin. So I remember hearing about it when I was in Wisconsin, but I had never watched it.
They're great. They're just a great couple. I think that season's on Netflix. You should go back and watch it. Talk about fashion. Those women. I talked about this when the episode was on. I interviewed Natasha and Justine from Two Black Girls, One Rose. It reminded me of all of the sorority, like going out shirts that people used to wear, like when I was in college. That was like the look of when I was in college was all the women on that show. And it was horrifying to revisit it. It was so weird. Oh my God. I'm ready for these GOAT episodes to be over. And Clayshia's season is pretty soon. I think it's like August 13th, I think they said.
No, October, you mean?
Sorry, October 13th, yeah. Correct.
I'm super excited for it. I mean, I think everyone when they first started recording Claire's season, with COVID being what it was, and then the excitement around Matt James, there were, I think, a lot of people who were just like, let's just get to Matt James's season. And now with this kind of drama and all this stuff, I think we're still excited about Matt James, but we're gonna wait for it. And I think we want to see what happened, because it sounds like a lot happened. It sounds like it was crazy. And I'm really curious how much they recorded. I'm really curious what they're going to show. I'm really curious how they're going to frame.
What's your guess? So here's what we know. This is I'll say it so you don't have to. Claire was was in production of her season of The Bachelorette from like opening night for 12 days. And then she chooses a man, and they are together now. And then Tayshia comes in. So I talked about this with Rachel. It's a lot of speculation. What's your guess for how she's introduced?
I don't know. I'm really curious. Like, I think there's a lot of options. I'm more curious about how they show the Claire stuff, right? Because even with the promotions, it's not like they're just starting over with Tayshia. Like, they're going to use this Claire stuff. They're still promoting Claire. So I really want to see how it unfolds. Like, I've started to hear some reliable
interesting
rumors, and I'm really curious how much they protect Claire or show what happens.
I hope we see what happens. 2020 tire fire. Let's just see everything that's gone askew or everything that's gone wrong this year. And there's been a lot so far, and I want to see it. Show us the unvarnished truth of this season.
I agree. I don't want them to go out of their way to make Claire worse. I don't want them to punish her. I don't want them.
Me neither.
Quite frankly, whatever Claire did has helped. I mean, they're going to use this, right? I think.
Yeah,
we've talked about this. Like, they can't have this happen. This can't be the new norm. There will be no more Bachelor franchise in a couple seasons if people are just quitting and they have to bring in people. But for the sake of this season, it's a great thing from a promotional standpoint. So I don't want them to try to punish her, give her a bad edit. But I agree with you. I want them to show what happens. And it's from what I'm hearing that it could go really badly for her.
Have you heard from her?
No.
Interesting. Are you guys friends?
We're friendly. I mean, friends to the point where when she was announced to The Bachelor, I DM'd her and said, "Congratulations, I'm excited for you." She said, "Thanks." That was the extent of our friendship. So, but like, Claire's an emotional person. She takes things very literally, and she just, again, you can give her props that she was very much, I'm here for love, and that's the only priority I have, and she seemed to really lean into that, and how she went about it might, it sounds like that might be what opens her up for criticism, but we'll see. I'm really curious. Is she still with this guy by the time it airs? I'm
going to say we're like end of October, early November.
Right?
But
so
by the
that's
time,
going to be 2 months of her. Let's say she meets this guy, this Dale guy that everyone's speculating, right? And so, it sounds like let's assume that she was DMing with this guy, and then she's like so into this guy. He shows up. She's just like, no, screw it. This is my guy. And she just like, I'm in love with him. He's in love with me. And I found love. I'm done. Here we go. They don't know each other, right? So now 2 months later, are they still together? I mean, that could go really badly.
It's a good question.
That could go really badly for Claire if by the time it airs and they have some sort of after the final rose and they can update with Claire and Dale's like, ugh, I don't know. Or Claire's like, then I think that can go really bad. If Claire's in love and it's like a happy love story, then I think everyone's going to be happy. And so I'm really curious. Who knows?
For her sake, I really hope they're still together. I just feel like this woman, she's been through a lot. She's been on the show many times. Let's see. She was on Winter Games. She was on Paradise. She was on Juan Pablo. Is that it? Was she on any other ones? Paradise ×2?
I'm not entirely sure.
I'm just thinking, they constantly refer to you as the guy who's on 4 times, but Claire, is she on 5 times?
Listen, personally, that's really annoying because at this point, I don't even think I'm second or third in terms of most appearances,
Who's ahead of you? Who's ahead of you?
I think there's a lot of people tied with me.
Yeah, I guess that there are many people who've gone to Paradise many times. Nick, when are you going to get the call up to be the bartender in Paradise?
Well, I mean,
would you do it?
I mean, if it was like an episode or two, sure, it could be fun. I mean, like it's like a harmless thing to do, sure. But I mean,
what do you think about JoJo hosting a few episodes with Chris Harrison?
I think it's great. I mean, yeah. So like, obviously with COVID, I think Chris was planning on not filming. Of
course, that's fair.
I'm a JoJo fan. She's obviously well liked in the franchise. I think it's cool. I think it was smart and cool for them to bring in a woman.
Agreed. For The Bachelorette in particular.
Even if it was The Bachelor, I think of all the people they could have brought in, I think it was smart for them to bring in a woman. And so, yeah, I think it's cool. It's great.
I'm desperate for some new Bachelor content. It's been a long time. This is the longest we've gone without new content.
It has. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Having started to talk to some of the producers, I think they feel good about what they did. I think it's going to be crazy. I think it's going to be different. And I think people are going to be talking about it. And as far as how they bring in Tayshia, I really have no idea because I just don't know how things go down with Claire, right? And it sounds like they didn't really start over. It sounds like Tayshia got what was ever left of whatever Claire chopped.
Interesting. So they didn't bring back dudes who weren't already there. I guess with quarantine, they probably didn't have that much time.
I don't believe so. And yeah, I think a lot had to come down with like quarantine and timing and like if they left the bubble, et cetera, et cetera.
I hope Tayshia finds someone she likes. I think there's a bit of a misnomer how much they cast for the lead specifically.
They don't at all.
Yeah, so it could be like, it might as well be the same guy. Should have gotten anyway. But still.
100%. Like, yes, they didn't cast for Claire any more than they casted for Tayshia, other than the fact that I think while quarantine was happening, I think they tried to age up a little bit for Claire, but other than like looks and type and personality, they weren't meant for Claire any more than they were meant for Tayshia. So I think it could easily be a better cast of men for Tayshia than Claire. You never know. But it sounds like Tayshia is only going to get like 15 and 20, not 30 to pick from.
Could that play to her advantage? Could it be better to start with a smaller pool?
Maybe it just depends on who's in the pool. I heard that even early on, Claire was incredibly definitive to the point of maybe letting, for all the talks out there of like, oh, the producers make all the decisions, right? Not true, right? And there were, I've heard that there were some really good guys, and by good guys, some guys that sent home that some of the producers were really optimistic about.
Interesting.
And Claire was like, nah. And like those guys could have easily been, great guys for Tayshia.
Damn. Okay. Well,
and like Claire made those decisions, and so the decisions that Claire made early on definitely are going to impact Tayshia one way or the other.
It truly is a season of Clayshia. Okay. Nick, we're just curious. Final question for you. What have you been watching? Like what's filling your time during quarantine?
I just watched Perry Mason on HBO. So that was pretty good.
Okay. Any other reality TV?
Reality TV? No, I have not.
Any Selling Sunset for you?
A little bit.
What about $1 Million Beach House?
I've not watched that. No.
I plan to discuss that on Thursday on this podcast.
I believe I'm having some Selling Sunset on my podcast show, so I've been prepping for that.
How exciting. I talked to the creator, Adam DeVello.
I saw that. Nicely done.
Thank you. I can't wait to find out who you talk to. I hope it's Chriselle. Although I feel like you and Christine could really have a great conversation.
Chriselle might be that person.
Ooh, teaser. Cool. We'll have to tune in. Nick, thank you for joining me today. It's great to see your face.
So good to see you.
Your glowed up face now that you live in Los Angeles and not fakely in Chicago. I hope to see you soon in person. And like I said, I'll be back on Thursday. Thursdays going forward, people, to discuss $1 Million Beach House, which you should watch on Netflix. It's silly fun.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.